Good morning, everyone. Good morning, sir. Good morning, classmates. So my report for today is about intellectual revolution that defines society. The intellectual revolution pertains to the period of paradigm shift or changes in the scientific beliefs that have been widely embraced and accepted by the people. So there are three types of revolution that define society. 1. Ideas of known intellectuals. Number 2. Information revolution. Number 3. Cradles of early science. And also, ideas of known intellectuals. So, letter A, Copernican revolution. In the 6th century, Ptolemy introduced the geocentric model, where it showed that the Earth is the center of the universe, which was thought to be true by most of the people at the time. Nicholas Copernicus, 1473 to 1543. Copernicus is an astronomer who contradicts the geocentric model and proposed the heliocentric theory, where planets revolve around the sun. Also, the change from the belief of geocentric to heliocentric happened through the contributions of other important persons, such as number 1, Brahe's observation of the star Cassiope. Number 2, Kepler stated that the planets move in elliptical orbits and the sun at the center. Number 3, Galileo Galilei developed telescope and observed Venus. Number 4, Isaac Newton's law of gravitation. Also, the Copernican revolution influenced conceptual changes in cosmology, religion, physics, and philosophy. Next topic is letter B, Darwinian Revolution. United Kingdom. Charles Darwin, 1809 to 1882. Charles Darwin formulated his book on the origin of species in 1859 that represent evidence on how species evolved over that time, and The Descent of Man, 1871, that introduced the idea of all organic life under the realm of revolutionary thinking. Also, Charles Darwin proposed the theory of evolution by natural selection, where organisms change over time as a result of changes in heritable physical and behavioral traits. The changes that allow an organism to better adapt to its environment can help it survive and have more offspring. And then also there are two main points of the history theory. Number 1, all life on earth is connected and related to each other. Number 2, this diversity of life came about because of the modification in population that were driven by natural selection.
Ideas of non-intellectuals. Freudian Revolution. The Freudian Revolution greatly affected or gave rise to the literature, visual arts, and music. Sigmund Freud, 1856-1939. Freud founded psychoanalysis. He described that the brain can be segmented into compartments. He developed an observational method to study humans' inner life, mainly focuses on human sexuality and evil nature of man. What is Freudian Revolution? are relating to the ideas or methods of Sigmund Freud, especially his ideas about the way in which people's hidden thoughts and feelings influence their behavior, especially with respect to the causes and treatment of neurotic and psychopathic states. The interpretation of dreams relating to or influenced by Sigmund Freud and his methods of psychoanalysis, especially with reference to the importance of sexuality and human behavior. Who is Sigmund Freud? Sigmund Freud, also considered to be the father of psychiatry. Freud was born to Galician Jewish parents in the Moravian town of Reberds. In the Austrian Empire, he qualified as a doctor of medicine in 1881 at the University of Vienna. He was appointed a docent in neuropathology and became an affiliated professor in 1902. Freud lived and worked in Vienna, having set up his clinical practice there in 1886. Freud was a one of a kind thinker. There can be little question that he was influenced by earlier thinking regarding the human mind, especially the idea of there being activity within the mind at a conscious and unconscious level. Yet his approach to these topics was largely conceptual. His theoretical thoughts were as original as they were unique. It is a testament to Freud's mind to know that whether you agree, disagree, or ambivalent about his theory, it remains as a theoretical cornerstone in his field of expertise. The Freudian theory of personality. Human personality, the adult personality, emerged as a composite of early childhood experiences based on how these experiences are consciously and unconsciously processed within human developmental stages and how this experience shape the personality. Not every person completes the necessary tasks of every developmental stage. With they don't, the results can be a mental condition requiring psychoanalysis to achieve proper functioning.
Information Revolution. The Information Revolution started from the Sumerian pictographs, which is the earliest writing system. Then comes the invention of Gutenberg's printing press, 1455. There became easier with the help of internet to communicate and disseminate and store information. The term Information Revolution describes current economic, social, and technological trends beyond the Industrial Revolution, and also the Information Revolution may relate or contrast with such widely used terms as Industrial Revolution and Agricultural Revolution that you may prefer mentalist and materialist paradigm. The cradles of early science. Mesoamerican. The historic region of Mesoamerica comprises the modern-day countries of North Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, Belize, and central southern Mexico. Mesoamerican, the complex of indigenous cultures that developed parts of Mexico and Central America in the 16th century. Mesoamerican civilization. Mayan was a Mesoamerican civilization developed by the Maya peoples and noted for its logosyllabic script and the most sophisticated and highly developed writing system in pre-Columbian Americas, as well as for its art, architecture, mathematics, calendar, and astronomical system. Maya is a modern term used to refer collectively the various peoples that inhabited. Maya developed in the area that today comprises southeastern Mexico, all of the Guatemala and the western portions of Honduras and El Salvador, the northern lowlands of the peninsula and the highlands of Sierra Madre, and the southern lowlands of the Pacific littoral plain. This is the traditional dress of Maya people and the area of Maya within the Mesoamerica. Mesoamerican civilization. The Inca Empire, also known as Incan Empire, and the Inca Empire, at the time known as the Realm of the Four Parts, was the largest empire in pre-Columbian American. The area arose from the Peruvian highlands, sometimes in the early 13th century. The Spanish began to conquest of the Inca Empire in 1532 and its last stronghold was conquered in 1572. The Inca Empire functions largely without money and without markets. Instead, exchange of goods and services was based on reciprocity between individuals and among individuals, groups, and Inca rulers. Aztec. The Aztec were famous for their agriculture, land, art, and architecture. They developed writing skills, a calendar system, and also built templates and place of worship. They were also known for being fierce and unforgiving. The Aztec were a Mesoamerican culture that flourished in central Mexico in the post-classic period from 1300 to 1521. The Aztec culture was organized into city-states, some of which joined from the alliances, political confederations, or empires. The Aztec civilization is the best understood as a particular horizon of a general Mesoamerican civilization. Contributions of the Mesoamericans. The Aztecs had established a great military force. Hinampa of the Aztecs used a small rectangular area for fertile land to grow crops on the shallow lake bed. The use of rubber documented in the Maya ball game called Tlacle. Tlacle means ball game played by Central America Indians as the Aztecs and Mayas, in which the player endeavored by the use of only the leg, hip, and elbow to send the solid rubber ball through two rings set vertically in the walls. They used cocoa beans as a currency. The Maya developed an accurate calendar, also known as Mayan calendar. The Maya calendar is a system of calendar used in pre-Columbian Mesoamerica and in many modern communities in the Guatemalan islands. The quipus are used by the Incan for bookkeeping. The quipus is an ancient Inca device for recording information consisting of variously colored threads knotted different ways. The Inca people used them for collecting data and keeping records, monitoring tax obligations, calendrical information, and for military information. The Mita system was invented by the Inca. It is a labor service that takes in road and bridge construction, in cultivation of corn and textile production. Mita was a mandatory public service in society of the Incan Empire. Mita was used for the construction of road, bridge, agricultural terraces, and fortifications in ancient Peru.
The cradles of early science. So the next of Mesoamerican is the Asia. Asia is the Earth's largest and most populous continent, located primarily in the eastern and northern hemisphere. Hemisphere means is the half of a sphere or the half of the Earth, usually divided into north and the south halves by the equator. It means that Asia is the largest continent around the world. And also, there are many countries in the continent of Asia. There are major contribution in Asia, or yung mga malalaking maitutulong or naiambag ng Asia. First is the traditional Chinese medicine acupunctures and hereby medicine were practiced. It means that traditional Chinese medicine is an alternative medical practice drawn from traditional medicine in China. It has been described as fraught with pseudoscience, and the majority of its treatments of having a logical mechanism of action. It means that it's a treatment of pain or disease by inserting the tips of needles at a specific point of the skin. So the next contribution in Asia is the four great inventions in China, which are compass, gunpowder, paper making, and printing. So first is the compass. Compass was the first used for worship, fortune telling, and geomancy, the art of aligning building. It is a device used for directions and navigations. It means it is a primitive compass shown people the way, not literally, but figuratively. And also, it's helping them order and harmonize their environment and lives. It serves as designators of direction that the Chinese primarily use to order and harmonize their environment and lives. So next is the gunpowder. Gunpowder, it was invented by Chinese alchemists in the 9th century. Originally, it was made by mixing elemental sulfur, charcoal, and saltpeter. Gunpowder is something as small packages of gunpowder, warp, and the paper or bamboo were attached to arrow and lit with a fuse. Then, ila ni siya create ang gunpowder to use recreational that the first emperor would create gunpowder in order for fireworks display. Next is the paper making. Paper making, the invention of paper, is a symbol of advanced science and technology in ancient China. It is made from mulberry. It means that the inner bark of the paper, mulberry, yields a paper used for paper making. Ibig sabihin na kanang naadaw kuno sa sulod ng mulberry is mauna siya ang ginayus to make a paper making. And also, gi-create ang paper making to greatly help the spread of literature and literacy to making books more convenient to use and cheaper. So the last invention in China is printing. Printing in East Asia originated from the Han Dynasty in 2006 BC to 220 CE in China, involving from ink rubbings made on paper or clothes, from text on stone table used during the Han. So it means that the printing is considered of the one of the 4 great invention of China that is spread throughout the world. So ang ka-invent ng printing kay si Johannes Gutenberg. Gi-invent niya ang printing to enable people to share knowledge and more quickly and widely. So the last cradles of early science is Middle East. Middle East is a geopolitical term that commonly refers to the region spanning the Levant Arabian Peninsula, Anatolia, Egypt, Iran, and Iraq. It means that the terms come into widespread usage as the replacement of the term Near East beginning in the early 20th century. So the contributions in Middle East: first, the Arab applied the Roman principles and improved the water mill known as Noria. So pag sinabi nating water mill, it is the structure that uses a water wheel or water turbine to drive a mechanical process such as milling or yung paikot-ikot, rolling, or hammering. So Noria, it is a water wheel or water mill used for raising water from a river so that it can flow by gravity via aqueduct to villages and cultivate land for irrigations. It means ang Noria is mauna siyang ginayuse to raise a water from a river para mo-cultivate siya to the land for the irrigations. So, gibuild ni siya ang Noria to help people to raise water in primitive irrigation systems. And also, the Middle East is known for their machine design for the improvement of irrigation industrial work and for war. The windmill and water mill are used for crushing sugar cane, grinding grain, and pumping water. So the next contribution in Middle East is the book of Basic Al-Jaman, Ibn al-Razas al-Jajari. Is the book of knowledge of ingenious mechanical devices. It means this is the book that give basic knowledge of how to build machine and their parts. It means na dito daw sila kukuha ng mga new learnings on how to build or paano gawin ang isang machine and also ang iyang mga parts. So it is described as candle clock, water clock, fountains, water vessel, automata, and also water racing. So naman siya gi-describe because doon sila kukuha ng mga basic knowledge on how to build a machine and also ang mga parts niya. The last contributions in Middle East is the book written by Taghi al-Din Ibn Matov al-Rashid al-Dimashqi, explain extreme power and a blueprint of a 6-piston pump. It means it can be used to move liquid or compressed gases. That's why always remember that technology and machine is very important in our lives because it's help to deal with everyday dynamic things. Ibig sabihin is malaking maitutulong ito sa ating buhay para mapadali at mapabilis ang ating mga ginagawa. That's all. Thank you.